February 1st marks the beginning of Black History Month. We're going to take a look at the trials, tribulations, and triumphs Black Americans have had in our country's complicated history.
That's right. While many think of slavery as something that only happened in the South, the state of Connecticut actually has ties to it. News 8's Jason Newton is here tonight to explain. Jason.
And when you think of Connecticut history, you may think of abolitionists and the fight to end slavery. But all 13 colonies, including Connecticut, participated in the slave trade. In fact, it wasn't until 1848 when slavery was finally banned completely in our state. There may soon be a new memorial on the banks of the Connecticut River in Middletown, one marking the site where slave ships docked, filled with cargo of humans for sale.
People aren't aware of how critically important slavery was to establishing the prosperity of New England.
Middletown was once the largest and one of the wealthiest cities in the Connecticut colony, thanks to a lucrative trade system where ships filled with Connecticut agriculture would head down to the Caribbean.
And then they would take it down to the sugar islands of the West Indies and trade there for sugar, molasses, rum, and slaves.
Most of the West Indian slaves in Connecticut were domestics or worked in factories. But records of the first U.S. census from 1790, housed inside the Middlesex Historical Society, show how prevalent human bondage was in Middletown alone.
But you can see a number of people owned slaves.
History is the past, and so it's different from the present, but the present is made up of the past.
What these historians want people to know is how Connecticut's wealth was established and generated by participation in a slave economy. It came at a great human cost, weaving a tangled web of history that was left for future generations to figure out.
These dynamics of how our communities are formed and where wealth comes from and how people related to each other, they leave traces, they leave important lessons.
And our state's history in slave trading extends much farther than the West Indies. A logbook housed at the Connecticut State Library documents 3 voyages that left New London and went straight to the African continent to purchase slaves directly. Live in studio, Jason Newton, News 8.